tremendous looking trophy.
Well, number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. My name's Don Blight. Joining me, as always, Ashley Hobley. Well, mostly always. Not last week. Ashley Hobley.
Hey, Dylan, excited to be back. With only one more month of avoiding Last of Us spoilers.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say anything to curse myself, but because I was going to say, well, I've made it this far. It can't go wrong. But who knows? I feel like I would have already got it spoiled for me if I hadn't have set up those Twitter mutes there.
Yeah.
You know?
I haven't set opening up, but I haven't gotten anything, so.
Yeah, because people know you're not playing it. They're like...
Oh, they wouldn't tweet directly at me.
They're like, fuck this guy. He doesn't even care. Like,
He doesn't care, yeah.
No. So they're just ignoring you. Yeah. No Last of Us stuff this week, but we've got some of the big news. So we're just getting a platinum for Ghost of Tsushima. Have it. Have the platinum. That's the award of the award of the episode. Let's get straight into it. So Ghost of Tsushima had a state of play, even though I find it weird to. Here's just as a side tangent. I know, like Nintendo has done state of plays where directs solely about one game, but they still feel very directy with like the same people like doing the voiceover and all that. Like, there's a tie-in factor that makes it feel like a direct, whereas this literally just felt like Sucker Punch uploaded a video. Like, there was no real state of play
elements
connection. You know, so if you want to be like, "Hey, was this a good state of play?" Yeah, it was a great state of play. Like, it was awesome 80 minutes of gameplay that we're about to talk about here. However, if you want my 2 cents on, was it like from a state of play standpoint, I found it quite weird. And also, this is now, if you go on the YouTubes, the PlayStation America, the main PlayStation YouTube channel, this is now the most viewed state of play. So I hope this doesn't just send the message that to Sony, like, yeah, fuck all these other directs that include indie games or VR shit or, you know, whatever. We state of plays should just be gameplay videos, because this, you could just post this on the PlayStation blog one morning and be like, hey, here's 20 minutes.
Just state of play.
Yeah, state of play. You know what I mean though? Like, it didn't have like a state of play factor to it to make it.
Well, this is like a special occasion. I feel like it's just that obviously the state of the world at the moment, plus Ghost of Tsushima, barely knowing anything about that game so far. Just this massive info dump was what everybody kind of wanted, and with so little news at the moment, everybody was watching.
But did they need to call it a state of play? You know what I mean?
Just branding. I mean, that's the only reason. Like,
yeah.
Important PlayStation news.
Yeah.
See, I
probably would have been more okay with it if we'd already had another state of play at some point in the year. But the fact that this is the first one and it's just like not very state of play, because I want state of plays to be good and cool and regular-ish. You know, up there with the directs and whatever else. The fact that this kind of lost any sort of connection to make that as a branding cool, I don't know. Anyway, that's my side tangent. We'll see what next state of play looks like. Presumably, the next state of play will be a PS5 event, maybe, or maybe they won't even brand that as a state of play. They're just like, hey, it's a PS5 reveal event. At which stage I'll be like, well, this should have just been the Ghost of Tsushima fucking gameplay event. I don't know, like, fucking don't tie it in. We'll break down some more nitty gritty key details after this, but overall, the nearly 20 minutes of Ghost of Tsushima gameplay footage that we finally got to see, did you like it, and what stood out the most to you?
Yeah, I did like it. I mean, it's obviously very beautiful. Definitely interesting setting. Yeah, and I'm just keen to like jump into the world and see how it all plays out. Obviously, you've got the combat system, which looks reasonably diverse. Like, it seems like there's 2 different ways to play. My question will be, is there the gray area in the middle where you can mix both up, or is it a case with most of this Sucker Punch games where you either go one end of the spectrum or the other end of the spectrum? So I guess we'll wait and see on that regard.
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying, I guess, because do you mean like Infamous it's like
Yes.
you commit to evil or
It's like,
good.
yeah, you either commit to being an evil person or you commit to being a good person.
Yeah,
You can't sort of mix and match the powers and that kind of stuff.
Do you commit to being the ghost / assassin, or do you commit to being the samurai, just Jin as a character? Yeah, that is a good point, because that is a negative that hangs on the games. However, hopefully that was like very rudimentary, especially early. Like, I feel like Second Son was a little bit better, but the first Infamous game was very much like, here is a decision. The red choice is bad, the blue choice is good, and also the blue powers are good and the red powers are evil. And there is no in between. There is no chaotic neutral. There is simply evil or good here. That's all you have to play. And
you only get rewarded if you do one or the other.
Yes. There's no middle choice, or you can't choose not to do either. You have to either be good or evil. Yeah. So I really thought this was great. I was already excited for this game anyway, because I like all of Sucker Punch's games, so I feel like I was just kind of coming in like, cool, another Sucker Punch game, let's go. And everything we've seen about this so far has excited me. Like the first duel we ever saw back in the day, like, I feel like it was 2 years ago when we saw that original.
3? No.
3 years ago. Fuck it.
No, that was the initial trailer.
Yeah. You know the one where the fight, like they break into that house and then he has a duel?
No, I think that was E3 like 2 years ago.
Yeah, like 2 years ago, and then the Mongols
weird
start coming in, and the fire starts, and all that sort of stuff. Like from that
sure that was
moment,
2 years ago.
Yeah, that was fucking like, and I assume that if that's still in the game, that would be more of a boss fight type thing. I would presume, but so I love that, and then I love everything we've seen since. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed how in depth they got to showing us the game. Like, it wasn't a lot of wank. It was actually just here's a good idea of how you'll be playing the game. And I also enjoyed the fact that they did nearly 20 minutes of it, and they don't spoil anything. Like, they don't even like tease story stuff. They're like, you know what? We've gave you the story trailer. It came out like the last state of play or whatever at the end of last year, all that sort of stuff. That's it. Like, this, we're solely talking about how you play the game. And there was nothing. Like, the entire time you're playing it, there's no like teasers of story or spoilers like hanging on the edge of anything. It's just like we're talking about game here. We're talking about how you play the game. So so in the thing I wrote, I'm going over my new species so I can get the dot points right. So the first thing they went over is the no waypoints, how you'll traverse around the map, which of course was something that had been rumored / leaked before. The whole idea that Ghost of Tsushima would have no waypoints, no map. You would have to find your way. And a lot of people were like, that's great. A lot of people were like, that was horrible. When we talked about the rumor on here before, I think I brought up, like I saw Able Gamers tweet out how it should have at least an option to do waypoints still for people who need that. We can't say for sure if this does have an option to turn it off or on. That's yet to be seen. So, but what they do show in here is, I think it's not the get completely lost in the world and have no idea where to go system that a lot of people thought it might have been. It is still quite easy, or it seems still quite easy to find where you've got to go. Like, you can open up a map, an overworld map, and that's cool. And although they didn't show us much, the couple seconds on it that we did see, there wasn't many question marks. It didn't look like The Witcher 3, so that's hopefully good.
Not yet.
Or it doesn't look like
This could be
Assassin's
early.
Creed Odyssey, as someone who's playing that game at the moment. Fucking icons on top of icons on top of icons.
Well, there's no towers to climb to unlock everything, so.
Well, at least that we know of currently. But what you do is you click on something, and then the wind will guide you. Like, literally, the wind will gust in the direction, and you just follow that, and they'll eventually lead you to where you need to go. And I think that's a cool system. Like, just having it, like, it's very rudimentary. Like, it'll either probably gust whichever way, and of course, if there's an object in your way, like a mountain maybe, or like a village or whatever, it'll probably just go through it. But then it's up to you to be like, okay, do I go around or through this object? Like, the gust is probably just going to go where the gust is going to go, because the wind goes where the wind goes. But how do you feel about this as a system, like just having to follow the wind to make your way to objectives? Is it scary, or you're like, no, that seems fine?
I mean, as long as it works and I end up with the places I get to, I mean, it makes sense. I feel like it's more of a story. it's to help focus the story and like remove a lot of the HUD and that kind of stuff. Obviously, you look at a lot of this footage, there's like barely any information on the screen. It's just the world with the occasional like pop up and that kind of thing. So I feel like it's a design choice. Yeah, I mean, it just makes it feel more real, I guess, to a degree.
Yeah. There's like no
as
hard,
real as changing winds that direct you.
Yeah,
it can be.
There's no
Visible
hard,
winds, yeah.
it appears, until you get into like battle or at an actual objective, and then it'll give you some little things there, which we'll get to in a moment. But yeah, the overall just like finding a way through stuff I find great. And another thing they pointed out is that they're like, oh, we want stuff to grab your attention, so it's like, oh, there's a smoke in the distance, so if you go to that, you may find a secret area, but if you're getting close to a secret area, a bird will appear and kind of guide you to where you need to go as well. Little bird. So it's all about little subtle details to help guide you as a player to interesting objectives, and not just have giant waypoints, but be like, hey, shit's on fire, maybe check that out. Hey, there's a flag or something down there, come check this out. And I guess using the wind to guide you, even if you set a direction that's like ages away, along the way you'll bump into birds and they'll guide you to secrets on the way to where you need to go. There's also which you should listen to when you want to watch later this week, but dubbing it Kurosawa mode, you're going to be able to turn the game into black and white, play it entirely in black and white. You compare this with the fact the Japanese only audio, which they announced previously. And that sounds really cool. However, it's definitely not the way I would like to play it the first time around.
No, that definitely seems like something you play a second time through, or like to make a cool short video or something. Not something I want to play the game through initially.
No.
Especially when you look at the colored footage, I'm like, damn, that looks beautiful.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know if it's going to look as good in black and white. No offense to black and white filmmakers.
It's no, I don't think it's any different. So I'm viewing it the same as I do like Mad Max Blood and Chrome, whatever it was called,
Blood and Chrome,
and like Logan, Noir Edition, and these sorts of things. None of those I would like to be my first viewing of the film. However, they're cool the second time or the third time or the fourth time. You know what I mean? So I feel like this is the same for Ghost, and I would probably do it the same way. And I may or may not replay it. I will probably, especially, be more likely to do this black and white thing if there's a trophy that means I have to play the game twice or something. You know what I mean? Or if they even just directly make a trophy that's like Kurosawa mode, play this shit in black and white in Japanese. You know, like Sucker Punch. If you need some help with the trophies, reach out. I got this shit. That's a great trophy idea, actually.
I mean, to get people to do it a second time, but to get a platinum trophy, that's not great.
Why?
You have to play through the whole game again to get it.
Yeah, but all the previous games you had to play them twice. Like all the Infamouses and shit, you had to go through once good, go through once bad. Like they all required two playthroughs. There was always a trophy for beating the game on hard. Most people did that as a second run. So if this game has the same sort of thing where it's like beat the game on hard or beat the game on normal or whatever, I'll probably do normal first. And then if there's a beat the game on hard, I'll probably jump back in for hard and play it in Kurosawa mode.
Okay.
In case anyone doesn't know what I'm saying, Kurosawa is a movie director, by the way, a famous movie director,
Japanese,
Seven Samurai. Seven Samurai, and lots of
that kind of stuff.
Great movie. Did lots of samurai movies, so that's why it's being dubbed.
My only concern would be like at nighttime, how good it looks.
What, you reckon black and white looks worse at nighttime? Have you watched good black and white shot movies?
Like when you're trying to do stealth and stuff, I don't know. It could be difficult.
No,
if it isn't calibrated right, or your TV isn't calibrated right.
Calibrated right. They're not going to add the mode and have it not calibrated right.
If your TV is not calibrated right,
well, that's your problem.
Yeah,
you can turn your fucking contrast up.
Well, how many people are going to have that issue and they go, "It's my TV's problem"? No, they're going to blame the game for it.
No, but that Sucker Punch will just tweet out it's your TV's problem. That's what they should do. I think they should take the charge now. Hey, if you play the game in Kurosawa mode and you get the trophy as inspired by Platinum Explosion Network's podcast, and the black and white mode is fucking up for you, it's your TV's fault. All right?
Okay.
They're not called Sucker Punch because they're nice. They're called Sucker Punch because they fucking one up you. You know what I'm saying? It all makes sense. Get down. So what else we got here happening? Let's the fox thing, right? So there's the when they go guided to the secret location, you get this fox shows up, guides you to a Inari shrine, and you do a little pray there, and then you get you collect a charm, and it seems collecting several charms will give you like a extra skill point or something like that, I'm sure, something along those lines. But most importantly, foxes. Fucking cool. Secondly, you can pet it.
Very important.
Game of the year.
If you can't pet the animals, then what's the point of putting the animals in the game?
Twitter account pretty much decides what game of the year is. It's like, can you pet the whatever in this game? No.
Can you pet the dog? No.
Get fucked. Your game is a failure.
Not disqualified.
Exactly. So the fox is cool. But let's get into the combat. So they show off one. I would say this is a side objective. This is a random thing in the world that you can choose to do or not do, probably. This doesn't seem like any sort of like story mission or anything like that.
No, it's your basic clear the camp thing.
Yeah, which are in heaps of games, but primarily a lot of Ubisoft games, which I guess is why people are tying in the Assassin's Creed thing, which I still don't get, but I guess. I mean, Far Cry was doing it first before Ubisoft had it.
Yeah, but it's a different genre. The combat's closer to Assassin's Creed.
Sorry. Is it? How do we know?
Because he's not carrying a gun. It's closer to Assassin's Creed than it is to Far Cry.
But there's heaps of fucking games of swords and shit. How's it just straight away it's Assassin's Creed?
Assassin's Creed's the biggest franchise.
With a sword?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Have you heard of Devil May Cry?
No.
Bayonetta?
No, I've never heard of that game. No, I'm sure that game's never going to come out.
She doesn't have a sword anyway, it's fine. I was just chucking it out there. Vanquish? No, I don't think it has a gun either. Metal Gear Solid Rising, Ash?
Tweeted us a bigger franchise involving a sword.
Do you remember
than Assassin's Creed?
There was a trailer for the big thing about Metal Gear Solid Rising. I just remember, by the way, my side note about that. I always remember there was a trailer for that game where it ended, and they showed how you could slice a watermelon in the game. Like very. Do you remember seeing this? Do you ever see this? The end of the trailer ends. They show this massive like Metal Gear Solid batshit crazy trailer, and the trailer ends where Raiden's like looking over this watermelon, and they're like the controls in this game are so fucking over the top crazy with our samurai shit, with our fucking katana slicing, that you can slice this watermelon up to tiny bits and then you can feed it to no one. I mean, you can just slice it up. They were like, our slicing technology is next level. Like you can cut limbs and fruit like never before. And then the game came out. And then
Fruit Ninja came out.
Yeah. The game came out and you could do it, but no one finished it because the game was fucking hard and ridiculous. So anyway. So the combat in this game broken down into two things. The first one is just Jin as a samurai, and the second one is Jin as the ghost, which is the assassin version. And they do the same enemy encampment takeover twice. So the first time he walks in, and very like it is, samurai way is, honorable. So he walks in, you can literally press a button to challenge an enemy and have a standoff with them, and then you can have a fight with them. Then he fights all the other people around and ends up just coming in and uses his bow and arrow and whatever else. The combat, it was hard to fully understand what it was doing because it seems they've tried to design a system that I would say is very much about, and it makes sense, a system where it's about one or two swift moves that kill your opponent, not hacking and slashing away like a very RPG type. Like Assassin's Creed, the enemies you just slice and slice and slice because it's like got that RPG thing, and you'll fucking be like, how's this person not dead? I've literally hit them with my fucking mace over their head 1,000,000 times and their HP's at 50%. Doesn't make sense. So this game appears to be going for more like, well, if you slice a dude across his body, he's probably dead. And at the same way, I would guess that this game, I'm not going to say it's Dark Souls, but I would say it's probably going to be harder than your Assassin's Creeds for combat. Maybe in line with what we were talking about before of God of War, where God of War comes out and people are like, oh, this combat's a lot harder than I thought. You actually have to like parry and shit unless you're playing on easy and you can take a few hits. Because that's how I think this combat is being designed, around like parrying, counter, you kill them. Like you don't parry, You do a little bit of damage, come for it again. Maybe boss fights, obviously, where you got to parry heaps, do like little bits in here. There's no way around getting the more gamified elements out of a game. I guess they got to make it epic somehow. But for all the enemies in this, it was very much like slow, methodical, parry, block, fucking hit them, blah blah blah. There's one point where he seems to fuck up a parry, and you see down the bottom left hand side of the screen, he had these 8 little yellow dots, which I presumed are the health, because he fucked up a parry at one stage, and one of them not fully depleted, but like seemed to half deplete, which made me think, okay, so there's like 8 yellow dots here. If he just lost like half of one for being hit once, then I guess you can get hit X amount of times, but fucking up a parry did like half a damage. Maybe taking an arrow does a full damage. You know what I mean? Like different levels. But again, sort of breaks the realism where they may be trying to build a game where it's about killing your opponents in one swift move. However, Jin is magically going to survive several hits. You know, there's no way around the super gamey type stuff that you can't get around. But I enjoyed
that
all
sweet
of this.
armor on.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe you take a headshot, you insta die. Fuck it. Like they're like, nah, GG, too bad. Should have put a helmet on, motherfucker. Get the hell out of here. I enjoyed
one of those
this.
face masks.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's why they said armor does different things. So, but I enjoyed this. But once again, it's kind of hard to fully wrap your head around the combat. The only giveaway to try and guess what was doing is it does say L1 R1 down the bottom left hand side of the screen when he's in combat. So maybe it's like L1, and like in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the combat is L1's parry, R1's attack. So I mean, if it literally is the same but better, I guess that could be a thing. But I mean, it's not the first game to do that. Sekiro has a similar sort of like parry block system going for it. But what do you think of the Jin the Samurai combat stuff? Were you like, oh, scaring you a bit too? You're like, oh no,
yeah, it's a bit like
Dark Soulsy, or
I don't know. Yeah, because it looks so precise and that kind of thing. I'm like, how hard is it going to be to get through without screwing up constantly? It looks like it could be challenging. It just depends on the tells and that kind of stuff and that kind of thing. I couldn't really tell the exact moment he should be striking and that kind of thing. But I guess that'll be a more hands-on thing. That
yes.
I'm sure there'll be some sort of tutorial that'll give you a chance to do both styles of combat. That'll help you make a decision as which way you're going to lean.
Well, the other thing I'll chuck out is that I was thinking about was, you know, in Batman, the Arkham games, where the tell is the above the head, counter symbol, right? But if you play those games on hard, they don't have that. So what if in a world this game does have a tell for the counters that's very obvious, like a Batman or whatever, but they, for the sake of the demo, to make it look cooler, we're playing on a harder mode where it doesn't have the counter tells. You know?
Maybe, but then I feel that that's too easy.
What do you mean?
For a game like this. It's like they're about to strike. Symbol.
I guess. Maybe it depends.
Especially when you only have to hit them once.
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't have confirmation on that. It just very much seemed like it was about if you parry them right, they'll hit, they'll hit. But I guess maybe the counter to that is if you pull off a good counter hit, they will insta-die, but the counter hits are hard to do. However, you can just whack a mole with your attack button a million times, and if you hit an enemy X amount of times, eventually you'll just break their guard and you'll be able to damage them. But obviously the faster and more effective way would be to just parry all the enemies rather than just going ham. But for people who don't want to do that, maybe they've still just worked in a system where it's like, if you attack an enemy enough times, they'll block, their fucking sword will break, and then you'll kill them. You know, maybe they're like to not stick this game behind your more Dark Soulsy type fans or whatever. Do something like that, because their fan base, Sucker Punch's previous games, they weren't, the combat wasn't exactly highly complicated. It was the superhero games or whatever. So trying to go to Sly Cooper. I mean, it's got the combat in that.
It's true.
You do die fast. Like if you get hit like 3 times, you're dead. I think so. Maybe that's the tie-in. Sly Cooper was the first Dark Souls game. Then in the Ghost the Ghost version, Jin comes in at nighttime. So I would guess you're able to do the whole thing where you could wait, press a button to wait and make time go forward like you can in The Witcher and Assassin's Creed and many other games where you can be like, I want to do this mission at nighttime. I'll fucking change it to nighttime. And he comes in and this is the more, I guess, Assassin's Creed-y thing that everyone's thinking about is the sneaking in, throwing firecrackers or whatever the hell they were to attract enemies, doing stealth kills, all these sorts of things, little fucking dart things at the throw. I can't remember the official name. I've got it here. So, Kunai, yeah. For quick kills, which little dart things or whatever. The only thing I'll say about this is everyone's comparing it to Assassin's Creed. However, Assassin's Creed hasn't been like this since Unity, I think was the last one before Origins, right? I think I can't even remember. Because Assassin's Creed Origins and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, they kind of changed the game into more just straight up, we want to be the Witcher action adventure RPG games, and they got rid of like pretty much all of the stealth stuff apart from the fact you could like crouch, sneak up behind an enemy and do a stealth kill, but all of the tools of the trade of the assassin, they kind of got rid of them all. So
that's because nobody's invented stealth yet in that world.
Mr. and Mrs. McStealth had to invent it in 1776.
Stealth doesn't come in until the Roman Empire.
Oh, yeah, the Romans very stealthy. Yeah, damn right. What do you think of the ghost stuff though? Sneaking in at night, using the tools and whatever.
I mean, it looks cool. It could be fun. If it's easy to pull off. I mean, of the two options, that one looks like it's the more creative and interesting version of combat. But again, if you have to wait till nighttime to do it, I mean, that could be a little bit world breaking and annoying. But I mean, it looks good. Obviously his traversal abilities are cool. Mm-hmm. Obviously popping up and down all over the place. All these gadgets and that kind of thing could be good. I don't know. Yeah, it looks good. We'll see how it goes. I'm probably leaning towards the stealthy version.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
See, I'm currently leaning more towards just samurai shit because, like, I haven't really got to play a game where I can walk in and be like, I challenge you, motherfucker. Like, let's samurai throwdown. You know what I mean? Like I've played many stealth games and of course the 1,000,001 old Assassin's Creeds, which that does seem more like. I've done all that before. What I am hoping though is they do, for story reasons, have you play certain missions, force you to do them in either the Ghost or the samurai version, right? And then for the stuff like this, the side questy type stuff, it's like you can play it however you want. So then it lets you choose how you want to play the majority of the game, but still forces you to dip your toes into several different things. Because it would be weird if I choose to play the game like, yeah, fuck your ghost shit. I'm gonna be assassin. I'm a fucking samurai, right? But we already know the basis of the game is about Jin and him losing his touch to his samurai home, like what he was taught with it. They've explained the game is going to be about him losing himself and adopting other sorts of cultures and ways as he proceeds through the game on his mission to stop the Mongol general captain, whatever it is, that tore through and killed his majority of his village, right? So it would be weird if I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that, and they let me, considering that's the kind of the basis of the game, and it's in the fucking title, like Ghost of Tsushima. Like, no, but I choose not to play your game. I choose to simply play Jin of Tsushima. When I play your Ghost game, get the hell out here. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how hard they force you, because I guess if you want to compare it to Sucker Punch, the stuff I was doing before, it's like maybe the Ghost is like the evil stuff, and then the samurai stuff is the good stuff. Yeah. So, but the evil stuff's in the title, and literally the synopsis of the game is about him losing himself, kind of. So, and if you watch the story trailer or anything like that, go back and watch that. It kind of explains more of this, more of that stuff about how Jin has to adopt and whatever. And they've been talking about that since he first revealed. They were like, Jin will, get these other tools like these grappling hooks and whatever the fuck else that he's going to adopt the ghost mantra or whatever, and that's losing touch with his home base, and they're not a fan of it. Like whoever survives,
I believe his uncle or whatever is like, you could potentially have him turn against you if you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like if the game is about you dipping into the ghost stuff, the assassin stuff, right? But I want to be like, you know what? I love my uncle, so I'm only going to dip in as much as I kind of have to, and then I'm going to stay a loyal samurai as much as I can because I want my uncle to love me by the end of the game. And you can be over here like, well, fuck my uncle, man. Like,
no, it's like, fuck these Mongols. I want to kill them as brutally as possible.
Oh, Jesus.
No honor.
No honor. I don't know if I want to show them honor either, but we'll see how it goes.
It's about efficiency.
Hey?
It's about efficiency.
I'm sure. So some other little tidbits that was from this. You can call your horse from anywhere. Thank God for that. Because there's that part where he gets down from the cliff and he like holds down a button. It's like calls the horse. All right, cool. Just to confirm.
Magic horse.
Yeah, well,
it's a magic horse.
I think it's always worth
magic
pointing
wind,
out because
magic foxes, magic birds, magic horse.
The last game from a Sony studio that had a object that you rode around the world map in, Days Gone, you could not magically make your bike appear. If you left your bike on the other side of the map and you like fast traveled somewhere else or whatever, or like went for a walk, you had to walk back to get it. It did not magically come to you. So it's always good to confirm that you can in fact just call your horse. There is crafting of some sort. They didn't go over it much, but they did several times show Jin walking over and picking up bamboo and other sorts of resources.
Well, I'm sure like the smoke bombs and the firecrackers and that stuff you have to make yourself. So
yeah, that's a good point. But like anything other than that,
probably armors, maybe.
I don't
know if you're going to be making them out of bamboo, but
yeah, maybe make some sick ass bamboo armor. I don't know.
Different hats.
Maybe. You can also collect flowers, which will allow you to customize the game's armor. You'll be able to use them to dye the armor different colors, so that's cool. I think people have a little bit of control over how shit or terrible their armor looks. Armor masks and hats in the game give you different abilities, not just a look. They showed this quickly, but it's like they'll give you different like plus more like this is the more RPG side of it, I guess. It's like, hey, this thing gives you plus 10% to this or plus 5% to this sort of attack or you know, like different sorts of skills. So you may, I don't know if the game, like how hardcore realistic is going to go, but if it just lets you carry around several just different sets of armor, then it'll become a thing of, okay, so this is my ghost set for assassin missions. This is my samurai set for going ham in, I suppose. There is some sort of skill point system they talked about that they didn't really get too in depth to it, but you will have some skill point system. And then the one thing I wondered about is, do you reckon, to put this in my post, do you reckon this game will dabble into sort of spiritual monsters, sci-fi, fucking shit like that? Or do you reckon it'll just stay super realistic? Because there's a part in the game where where Jin follows this random thing, follows the bird to a secret location, and there's like this burnt down house or whatever, goes and gets some resources. But the person there is like, beware, this forest is haunted by spirits, right? Which you could be like, yeah, Dylan, like Japanese thing, culturally, spirits haunt forests. Like it's in the history books, right? It's a thing. It's a still thing that exists today. That like this fucking forest is haunted by spirits. However, I do wonder, do you reckon they could do you reckon they'll ever dip their fingers into that or just say super realistic?
I mean, they might dip their toes and hint at it, but I don't think they'll outright. I don't think the game's going to end with you fighting some giant spirit monster.
No. I don't think it will either, but I did make me wonder if there'll ever be like a side quest thing.
Exploring something.
That could lead to some
maybe,
sort of...
and then it just turns out it's a hoax or something.
Yeah.
Like, that's an interesting story.
Or, you know, they do the Far Cry thing of you fucking take some drugs.
It could be some actual spirits, you know?
Yeah.
This wind is coming from somewhere.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a very good point. Exactly. But overall, I thought it was great. Can't wait to play it. Of course, July 17th is when the game's out. Very, very keen. Especially
2 months.
2 months. Yeah, no, it's crazy. And in between that, we've got The Last of Us. So fucking shit's about to get wild. Crazy. Two other little news stories to go over this week. So Iron Man finally got its release date. It's worth noting. Iron Man VR, of course. So this now comes out July 3rd. Do you feel... My thing with this is I know that VR games are niche, like the PSVR audience has the PSVR audience, but I still feel like just sticking it kind of between The Last of Us and Ghosts is like no wiggle
Interesting
room.
choice.
So for anyone who may have considered, Iron Man is the game, I will pick that up with a fucking PSVR headset. Here we go. Fucking sell me a package. And they're like, well, I've got to pay $100 over here for Last of Us, $100 over here for Ghost. I'm not buying my PSVR anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like they're I'm not saying they're hanging it out to dry, but they're hanging it out to solely be brought by people who already have the game. And zero chance, I feel, of people kind of picking it up, a VR headset finally for it. You know what I'm saying?
No, well, maybe, yeah. Well, where was it before? I think it was still like a month after.
It was
Last of Us.
No, it was about a month and a half before The Last of Us originally.
Yeah, so
it was nearly 2 months before The Last of Us, I think, and then they delayed it 2 weeks.
That's true.
And then it was a month and a half, and then they delayed it again, obviously. So,
I mean, I don't care because I got a VR helmet, so
yeah,
give it to me.
You're like, I don't care.
It's
I
not
just want
my
to play
problem.
my fucking Iron Man game.
I mean, that's not my problem. If you haven't got a PSVR, I mean, you should probably buy one. Help the economy.
How's that help? Maybe I don't know. Are you gonna pick? You don't care about the month of hell you've got coming? Do you feel
I don't think
your wallet hurts already, or you're like, no, I'm good. Like, I fucking got Ghost. I got Last of Us. I got Iron Man.
Yeah, I mean,
2 games very close.
I haven't been spending money the last few months. It'll be all right. It's like, yeah. I mean, we knew they would be coming probably around the same time. It's 2 weeks in between them. So, I mean, that's not too bad. And I don't think I'd be surprised if Iron Man was a full price, a $90, $100 game.
I mean, it's $55, that price.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's not too bad.
I've been sticking on a lot of these budget things here in Australia.
And you probably want to buy it digitally. Because
yeah, well,
you don't want to be ejecting discs and that kind of stuff. You just want to jump straight in.
Yeah. Well, and I'm assuming it'll be,
and I assume it won't be too long either.
No, I reckon it will be 6 to 8 hours, honestly, depending on how good you are. Because I feel like it's going to be around the same length as Blood and Truth.
But yeah,
if I'm setting that as the high bar for a lengthy, full blown PSVR title, and this is what that is.
Well, how long's Half-Life Alyx, do you know?
I don't know because I haven't finished yet because my fucking graphics card hasn't come. Don't get me started. And I paused playing it so I could get the better experience.
Tweet at Nicholas Pryor then.
I think I'm halfway ish. So I would say I think it is around that same thing I just said. Probably it's around 6 to 8 hours.
That's a comfortable length for a VR experience. 2 or 3 settings.
Yeah. You do a couple hours,
Standings.
do a couple hours. Yeah. I think, yeah. And it depends on your skill and difficulty, of course, but yeah, 6 to 8 hours, I'd say. And then the last thing that happened with PlayStation this week was they announced this studio, but it's not a new studio. It's just it's a name overrant thing. Sony has announced a new flashy logo this morning that will play at the start of future games, not including upcoming launches of The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, and Horizon Zero Dawn for PC. So this was previously where at the start of games you'd be like, Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios presents, this sort of thing. Now collectively all of the in-house Sony first-party studios will just be under the umbrella of PlayStation Studios. So we're not heading out to SIE worldwide or, SIE fucking whatever else to check out stuff. We're checking out stuff from PlayStation Studios, which makes sense because, PlayStation's branding has been very confusing for a long time, and Xbox's has been very easy because they just simply called theirs Xbox Studios. Who are the studios we have? They are called the Xbox Studios, and they include Ninja Theory, fucking whoever else. You know what I mean? Like, it was very easy to understand what the hell that was all about. So the umbrella of developers, for people who don't know, want to know: Naughty Dog, Sucker Punch, Guerrilla Games, Ben Studio, Insomniac Games, San Diego Studios, San Mateo Studio, Santa Monica Studio, Media Molecule, Pixel Opus, Japan Studio, Ford Works, and Polyphony Digital. All the studios that will be under this umbrella, and they released this short video that showed off the opening logo, which of course everyone was comparing it to Marvel and whatever else, because it's, you know, has that, I mean, it's very easy to compare it to all that sort of stuff. It plays, it has the, you know, the objects swinging around and the characters inside them like Marvel does, and then it comes out and it's like they're in the triangle, circle, X, and square, fucking delicious, and you got, in the video, you see Last of Us, Uncharted, Ratchet and Clank, Little Big Planet, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn. And that's what they've shown in this video. However, I expect this to fully change by the first time we actually ever see this. Because it's very weird to me to have stuff from The Last of Us 1 when The Last of Us 2 is coming out. You know what I mean? So I feel like all of these images are just kind of placeholder for the moment.
Well, if you're going to go the Marvel route, that is constantly changing.
Yes, and they did explain
and
that
it is more film focused. Like, so for the next Gran Turismo, it's just going to be all cars and probably the thing. Maybe,
So in Eric Lepel did this very lengthy interview of GameIndustry.biz, but the key thing I pulled from was he said, "You've seen the animated asset that will exist primarily during the beginning of our titles, but the brand will exist in a lot of different places. There are different shorter animations that will exist in trailers. It will exist in advertising. It will be in any other creative assets such as game packaging and the game discs themselves, because they've also got this brand new logo with the PlayStation symbol that just says Studios below it." They got asked about the Marvel inspiration, and he said, "One of our biggest games of all time has a Marvel character in it with Spider-Man, but this is really about doing something specific for our games in our industry." Way to kind of dodge around that question, pull it back in. Lindell also explained how the logo of the future could be tied in different franchises, saying, quote, "The cinematic you've seen is one that has multiple games in it, but over time, as we introduce well-established franchises, we can tailor the opening a bit to possibly show the franchise over the years. New characters that have come into play, there's a lot we can do, and lot we're really excited about this." So, and the example I used in my post was, it's like, imagine a world where they bring out Uncharted 5, obviously the logo would just have all the Uncharted games, because they've got enough history to pull from there, they've got enough characters and moments and things to change.
Or more likely, the new Ratchet and Clank game.
Well, yeah, but still only one Ratchet and Clank, unless they're just like showing all the old ones as well, right? I don't know what
I guess. They bought Insomniac, so technically they own all their past games.
I guess. I mean, depends if you want to show them, though. I guess from like a consumer standpoint, like, here are all these PS2 games. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Come buy the remakes. But at the moment, it is Sony just has a lot of franchises that are on their third round.
Yeah,
you know, like Days Gone's on round 1, Horizon's on round 1, God of War is technically on round 1, because I don't know. Again, from a marketing standpoint, I don't know if God of War, they would want to market it as, remember all these old games? Because I feel like they kind of did the refresh to bring in new fans and new people. So would you want your opening logo to have all this stuff from games and be like, "Hey, remember all this stuff?" And people are like, "No, because I haven't fucking played them. I only played the most recent one." But I like the logo. I think it's cool. The other interesting thing I thought was that they're like, "Hey, next generation will have no load times. Get excited, everyone fucking love it. Here's a loading screen. Don't you love that as well?" You know, like to get ready for no loading.
No, it's not a loading screen. It's
it's a video.
It gets you in the mood.
Yeah, I'm hoping
prepares you.
I'm hoping personally that this is not something that you'll have to watch every time you like boot up a game in like the opening spiel that we already go through now for all our games. I'm hoping this just plays in the opening credits of games, properly like a Marvel movie. You know, start game, this symbol comes up, and they can change the music behind it for different games. You know what I mean? Like, and that's how games kick off. They can play it shorter, sped up versions in trailers, advertising, TV spots. And as I said, the logo is just going to appear on lots of stuff. And I think to me, if they're going to stick this on box art down the bottom, it's like PlayStation Studio. It's kind of got that whole Nintendo feel of back in the day when Nintendo used to be like Nintendo approved. Like this is a PlayStation Studio.
This is
high caliber.
This is
shit.
a high quality. Yeah, that's the most important thing out of this, I think. Obviously, we're in the know and that kind of stuff, but a lot of people don't know about the first party studios and that kind of thing. So I feel like this is cool branding that will make it easier for grandma going into the shop and buying a game for little Timmy.
Yeah, I agree. I think they'll help, and I think it would have helped games like Days Gone and whatever else. You know, not these massive PlayStation studios that everyone knows about, unless you're in the actual industry and you're in the know of what's going out. But maybe that game would have done better if it had TV spots and everything with this fucking cool PlayStation thing that said, like, this is a PlayStation game. People walking into the store, they see the box art, you know, PlayStation Studio. This is a fucking PlayStation game. Yes, I will play this kind of thing. And that will help future games, I guess. You know, same as Concrete Genie. What's this random indie fucking game? No, this is a PlayStation Studio game. You should be playing Concrete Genie. Explosion Network gave it a 10 out of 10.
That's true.
Play the game. You know? Dreams even. It's like, unless you, like, that was such a hard game to market. And a lot of people would have been like, what is this random fucking thing? Maybe it would have done better.
Oh, it's a PlayStation Studios game? Is that actually in boxes? I've never thought to look.
That's a good question, eh? I haven't been in a store for quite some time, so I do not actually know. And the game came out like at the start of the year. I don't know if I've really been. There was that one time I popped in for like 2 seconds.
I think there is a box.
Yeah, I think
I'm imagining a box art in my head. So.
I'm pretty sure I've seen box art online, but have I seen it personally? No, because the only time I've been into an EB game like, oh yeah, is that quick 5 seconds where I'm like, I'm sorry, please give me Final Fantasy, bye. And that's my story here. But any other thoughts on the branding thing? Do you think it looks cool, or you're like, yeah, whatever?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's going to do the job. It definitely, obviously, the Marvel thing is quite obvious. It definitely looks like that. Even sounds like it a little bit, but I'm sure they'll adjust that in the future.
Yeah. People comparing it to the Xbox one as well, which, yeah, cool. They're all the same. Good job.
There's only so many different ways you can do this.
Yeah. It's a cool way to do an intro, and everyone has ripped off someone, and I can't remember who it is, but Marvel is not the first person to do this, and I still think that they have all ripped off the worldwide of sports type thing. Is what I think. Everyone has ripped off, because that fucking intro is from what, like 70s, 80s? I don't fucking know. Like, that shit's old. And that is literally it's not logos turning, but it is like random images and highlights playing in an opening of a fucking thing. And as far as I'm concerned, that's where this all comes from. That's Dylan's sports tie-in
reference.
And believe me, I know sports.
That's the one thing you remember is the opening to the sports. That's where you left.
Yeah, because then I flicked the channel. Wide world of sport. Get the fuck out.
This is cool. It's a cool graphic. Oh, that's over.
Yeah, cool graphic. Get the fuck out of here. I don't watch this at all. Heaps of other sports shows have done similar things. Even here in Australia. I think I've seen an AFL one before. Where you're like, here's all these fucking moments, people doing cool shit. Like, it just seems like a very sporty thing. And then Marvel does it, and everyone's like, you motherfuckers, you ripped off Marvel! You motherfuckers, you ripped off Xbox! I'm like, they've all ripped off someone, right? That doesn't matter. It looks cool. Who cares? You know, end of story. Welcome to a special Platinum Explosion segment where myself and Kieran was talking about The Last of Us, but we finished it last week. So now joining me for a special finale, the true Last of Us, Buddy Watson.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. And after sombering experience of The Last of Us, we can finally get into the meat and bones of the game and its best feature by an enormous mile, the multiplayer.
Yes. So I have, when I was like, damn, we talked about everything to do with The Last of Us. I've talked about the DLC. The only thing I hadn't planned to really talk about when I was originally talking about doing it was the multiplayer. And Kieran just, doesn't fit the bill, unfortunately. So there was no question who I had to call. And it wasn't the Ghostbusters. It was you, because no one I've ever met has talked about loving The Last of Us multiplayer as much as you have, to the point that the only reason I've put any time into it is because you dragged me into it late last year or whatever for the first time. I never even, no, hold on, I played the beta on PS3, but I never actually touched it during the proper release because I didn't care for it. So for people like me who may not have ever played it until like very late, or I wouldn't have ever played it without you dragging me into it late last year, do you want to explain what the Last of Us multiplayer contains of doing and why you like it so much?
So the last multiplayer is 4v4. There are 3 different modes. The first mode is your team starts with 20 lives, and as you get a kill, the team's counter goes down, and it's basically the team that gets the other team's counters down to 0 and kills their last 4 members will win. The other mode that they had is called Survivors, and if you die, you don't respawn, so it's kind of like a search and destroy. Eliminate the team, you win a round, first to 4 rounds wins. That's my favorite mode, and I think it's the most purest form of The Last of Us multiplayer. And the other mode is called Interrogation. Now, originally that wasn't a mode that was in the PlayStation 3 version, but it was a mode that was released as DLC along with 3 or 4 other different maps from memory. That entails taking down opponents, and then instead of just killing them, you get the interrogation type kill, which takes a little bit longer, or has a cutscene animation. If you've ever played Apex, think the finishing move there, and whether that gets interrupted or not, and you can complete it. Your team does 3 or 4 of those, and you get like a key or some kind of thing, and there's a safe on the map, and each kind of team has a safe, and it's kind of, you've got to lockpick the safe and open that in a certain amount of time without getting interrupted as well. So that's a bit of fun as variation, but the Survivors is my favorite. The matches take 15 minutes. I think that's across all 3 modes. One of them might be 20 minutes if it's the interrogation, but the crux of the game is kind of like The Last of Us single player, and that's really down with like scarcity of resources, ammunition. It really emphasizes working as a team and not being this lone wolf, because you really don't have enough ammo if you run into 2 other people, let alone a whole team of 4. And that's probably the biggest reason that keeps me drawn back to coming back to play, is because of that team element and the variation in the different games as well. Because the crafting elements from the single player game are also brought over. There are item boxes placed in each, and you can basically get your crafting tool, decide what you're going to do, and whether you're going to try and get 2 lots of crafting tools before you craft some of the more damaging items like a Molotov cocktail, or whether you're going to craft med kits or something. So the variations in the game and how you can play and how other teams kind of approach it, especially as a team, and the strategy, is probably the biggest thing that appeals to me.
Yeah, I think that's like the strategy stuff was what I was enjoying most when I was playing it. The more tense matches where it was super tight and had to actually act slow and move slowly around the map, and because you can use your listening tool, which from an outset, when you kind of say that, it's like, surely that would ruin the multiplayer, but because you can only use it for a short amount of time, it's kind of just like this pulse radar in a short area around you, and often it kind of makes really tense things where there could be an enemy literally on the opposite side of you in a door, but they could know you're there also, or they may not, and then it's like, well, what do I do here? Do I go? Do I not go? Do I just run around the corner? So all that stuff I really enjoyed. And then the crafting stuff is, I suppose you can play it either defensively or offensively, because you can be building heaps of med packs or offensive grenade type stuff. And then when you place those and how you use them becomes in play. And then obviously, what do they call it? The gears? Whatever they're called? Scrap parts? Scraps?
Yeah. I can't remember what they're called, to be honest.
Yeah.
I just pick them up.
Yeah, whatever that.
I know they're in high demand.
They're in the single player as well, obviously, the scrap parts, whatever they are, that you need to use to upgrade your weapons. And the same part carries over to the multiplayer. We can use those to upgrade as well. However, what you choose to upgrade is also sort of strategic, because the upgrade is only per match. Like, you can upgrade your your gun to do more damage or reload or whatever, but that's just during the course of the match. So then if you're losing, I would find myself upgrading different guns to like spray and pray more maybe, or if I was winning, maybe I was just putting more into my rifle damage because I just want to go ham and just one-shot dudes like across the map type thing. So there was lots of variety to it. The only time I really disliked it though is when we were just getting owned and there was no way to counter it. And that's kind of when the game showed its ugly side to me, and I was like, this isn't fun at all.
Yeah. The parts, the collecting the parts as well as the crafting items in the toolboxes are fantastic, and you collect those and you open up like an in-game menu, and you can upgrade the weapons that you have. You can carry a primary and a secondary if you want, like whether you're just going to do a handgun or run around with a handgun and kind of a primary weapon like a bow or hunting rifle, and you can upgrade each weapon 2 tiers, and that will include faster reloading, more ammunition, that kind of stuff. Once for myself, I play with the bow, and it's quite difficult to kind of get a really good vibe going with the bow and how it handles. But if you can upgrade the bow to the second level, you can basically quick fire, if you're on target, 2 arrows in rapid succession and get a takedown with it. And once you become proficient with a weapon like that, you become near unstoppable. But then there are other people that are putting crafting tools into getting body armor, or they're the purchase type weapons you can get in the game that really go for a limited time, like an assault or that kind of stuff. So I think when you break down why I like The Last of Us Online so much is how many little meta games there are that lie within the online itself. There is that parts element, there is that strategy and having to work as a team, there is the scarcity of ammo, and then there's the actual meta game outside of the game that runs across the 12 weeks, which is a cool little incentive of why you should be collecting parts or your food resources or supplies. Sorry, they call them supplies in matches as well, which is pretty cool.
I want to dive into this because this is the story attached to the multiplayer, I guess, in that you're playing the leader, I think, or like at least someone in part of this encampment of survivors, and each multiplayer match, if you don't use a bunch of your whatever they're called
parts
you can get more stuff at the end of the match, but of course you may need them to win, and then the big risk reward stuff comes in every couple days, isn't it, or something like that? Periodically.
So when you initially start, you're either a hunter or a firefly. It goes across 12 weeks, so 7 days, that's a week. 12 weeks. Hey. however how many matches that ends up to be. I think it's 84 if my quick math on the spot is accurate.
It's a lot.
Each match acts as 1 day, and like you were saying, after 3 days there might be like this meta type goal that comes up. Your marauders are attacking your camp. You need to do an objective to save a certain percentage of your population, and it might be, okay, cool, I'll go down the list, get 3 downs across 3 matches. So you get your you get your first tier, 3 downs. All right, cool, I'm only going to lose
50%,
20% of the population. I get my 6 downs, I'm only going to lose 5%. I get my 9 downs, I lose 0%. Mm-hmm. Sounds simple enough. They keep coming up every now and then, and if you can't choose the same type of thing. I just can't keep going downs because my next tiers will be 6, 9, 12. I can't just keep choosing downs. So it might be downs with a certain weapon or revives or gifting items to other players. So it kind of gets you to tactically think how and which objectives you'll complete depending on what little mini goal it is. Every now and then, I think there's 3 or 4 times across the 12 weeks, maybe more, maybe less.
The big one.
I'm not sure on the accuracy where it'll be 100% of your population. Now, if you lose your whole population, you go back to week 1. So the idea is to survive for the 12 weeks, which I think is pretty cool. And any parts that you don't use to craft weapons or upgrade weapons or buy body armor in matches, they will turn into a certain amount of supplies. You need a certain amount of supplies to feed your camp, and your camp size or your clan size grows across those 12 weeks. And it's kind of a competition, and that's what some of the leaderboarders are to see how big you can get your clan from week 1 to 12. So
yeah, and there is a endpoint, but really it's just kind of like, hey, you survived, good job, start again, pick either hunters or survivors. There's no real big payoff, and I guess because I managed to achieve it once for, I think I picked fireflies. I don't actually remember. I look at my trophies, find out, because there's one I've got.
And the
one.
choice and the choice doesn't really matter between fireflies and hunters. It's just kind of what gets called out and what your appearance appears in the game.
Yeah,
for each round.
But then you could be playing. You could have picked a different thing and would be on the same team and would appear like but the similar anyway. So it really is silly in that sort of faction. It kind of the game breaks the meta narrative of the multiplayer bitch. But the one thing I did appreciate with all this is having. I mean, unless you don't care, if for some reason you're like, I don't give a fuck about paying attention to any of this Firefly Hunter storyline, multiplayer challenge stuff, whatever. But if you do care enough and you are going for it to get, but I guess the big problem is there's not enough incentive to kind of do it, like not enough like weapon skins, these sorts of things. But and that might help. But for people who do care, having to do the challenges gives you something to help break up the matches and give you a new challenge to do and a new way to play, especially because, as you said before, you can't just pick the same thing over and over and over. So suddenly I'm finding myself, the easiest one I've got available is 3 downs at minimum with this gun I've never used. So now I'm having to play a match with that gun and try and get knockdowns with it. Apex terms all over my brain. So yeah, I do appreciate that. But my one hang up with it is there is not a big enough reward apart from just, hey, do it because it's a thing that's here. Like, and I know the game is sort of old because obviously it's a PS3 game, but let's start here. Let's start with how do we improve, because we know there's Last of Us multiplayer coming for The Last of Us Part 2. Well, they're working on it. Whether or not it suddenly gets cancelled would be a shot in your foot, I think, at this point. But we do know it was part of the leaks. I haven't looked at it. I know that you haven't looked at anything. But we know it was there. So let's start with how to improve this meta story stuff in The Last of Us Part 2 multiplayer, and then how would you like to see them improve the general gameplay stuff? So how do you think they improve the story stuff?
I guess the meta game, there would be more, like you were saying before, more payoff or more incentive to go after these goals outside of going up the leaderboards and comparing your clan size to your friends, which I have, a few friends that are really into the game as well. 3 other members that I kind of jump in and we play as our own little clique and party up. And some of the strategies that we can run, we can really dominate teams and go hard. And like you're saying, some of those one-sided matches that we were on the end of, we were kind of on the other side, just owning noobs, especially when it came out and PlayStation Plus. We run rampant for a couple of sessions there, and that was fantastic. And that really got us a lot of supplies and got our clans pretty decent size. But like you're saying, there's really no incentive to do that if you just want to play. If you're interested in it, so be it. It's a cool little thing, but maybe more importance around that. And I'm not really sure how they do that. Maybe more cutscenes instead of just being like little dots in a petri dish to show how big your clan is and how many are hungry and healthy and that kind of stuff. Maybe actually having like avatars or more personal. There was Facebook integration at one point where it could be the name of your Facebook friends that were filling into that clan, because like Smith is hungry or has been killed or got an infection. I really thought that was quite weird, so I didn't want to do that. But yeah, the metagame itself, I really get into. I just like to see kind of more options and more gravity in the kind of decisions that you make, and more incentive to do certain things in matches to grow that or make it bigger.
Yeah, so I think it would be really cool, and I don't know if this sounds more MMO-ish or something along those lines, but you get to create your character, you get to pick Hunter, Firefly, or whatever sides have got going in this. I assume one's going to be Fireflies, though. Create a character. You'll have unlocks for skins, or even just like literally boots, jackets, shirts, like go full ham because people love that shit. They'll eat it up, just different sorts of stuff. No stats. It's simply cosmetic because you don't want stats in the way this game is designed. You can't add stats to the items. And then make the clans be stuff that you can start with your friends. And then make it so that as a group, you have to build to a certain level and achieve the challenges together. And where the weakest link in your clan could be a problem, So then you have to pick 5 to 10 people to be in your clan or whatever, and you all literally have to work together and play well because you're all working towards the same goal of completing you could make it a 12-week story again or something like that, but you all have to do well. I think that would be a cool way to incentivize people, and then you unlock more costume stuff and hats and whatever else, but way cooler stuff than they have in this one now.
Yeah, almost like a Need for Speed club or something like that. Yeah. I think that would be cool. As long as you can't have like hundreds of members or even a Rocket League.
They got to keep it small.
Yeah, they've got to keep it small and reasonable. I think your 5 to 10 people is quite good. Maybe you're for a part of your own little Fireflies or whatever you call it. You actually earn a percentage of more XP if you're in specific matches with your clan members and playing with members. So I think that would be good to adopt from other games as well. And speaking before about the unlockables and the cosmetic unlockables, I'm not sure what the situation was with The Last of Us Remastered because I really hadn't taken much notice of it. But in the PS3 version, there was a lot of cosmetic unlocks in the game. I don't know how that is. I'm guessing if you were to check
I've changed some of the stuff, but I didn't find any of it super interesting or enough or enough of it to like constantly pull you along.
That's right. And that was probably one of my big criticisms of it, that I really feel the customization, there was no real amazing options. I'm not asking to be some spaced out San Francisco Watch Dogs 2 character with a light up mask and graffiti shit everywhere because it just doesn't fit the tone of the game.
No.
But I think it'll maybe a little bit more vibrant colored stuff, even if it's just a different colored t-shirt that's a bright green or something. Everything's so washed out, denim, bland, stuff like that. So maybe a little bit more customization options would be good, and to probably not hide that behind DLC and paywalls, because I think that was one of the big criticisms that I have of The Last of Us with so many cosmetic items, and even extra weapons were put behind DLCs and extra perks. And some of the perks that I've purchased through the DLC packs, like agility is a really example. Agility 1, I think when you're using Agility 1, your crouch walk speed increases and you make no sounds when vaulting objects. So for Last of Us, that's huge. And the Enforcer that I have, the pistol, I think that is a 2 or 3 point purchase out of the 13 loadout points you have when you're doing your custom class, and you can basically use that as a primary weapon and not have to choose like a pistol, like a hunting rifle or a shotgun or a bow and arrow, and you can run around with that, and whether it's silenced or not. And if you couple that with one of the other perks where you start with 50% more pistol ammo and you're using kind of smart perks like that together, that weapon is a beast, and a lot of people don't have access to that because it is a purchasable item. So that is one of my big criticisms of it, that I felt like there are elements of pay to win. It is not a completely pay to win game. Like you don't have any of the downloadable stuff. I don't really think you would be like jumping into a game and going, why the fuck am I not winning? Because you're still making good plays and getting enough downs and enough kills and stuff. And I don't think it's super noticeable, but to like go to that next tier of actually playing with 3 friends at the same time and wanting to compete against other kind of teams that are all partied up and stuff, I really think that it could be the difference between winning and losing and being competitive or not. So that's my massive criticism of not just the cosmetic stuff, but the real pay to win elements with some of the weapon unlocks and some of the perks.
Yeah, I don't like the sound of any of that.
Yeah.
Straight away, it's kind of a red flag. And to what you was like saying before with the different colors for outfits and stuff, it's like, why not? you know, and you can still all have it fit the same sort of Last of Us theme or whatever else. For as you were saying that, for whatever reason, I started thinking of the Division 2, where everything has a very sort of army-ish militia feel to it. However, they do have so much variety in that sort of style. Like, they have so much you can kind of change to, but it all still feels very Division 2-ish, apart from a few couple outlandish things, but...
And it'd be cool to have like a character that you could have cut off sleeves and it can actually have tattoos along the arms and that kind of stuff. And I think the Last of Us actual customization ops are really kind of lacking. I don't know if that was like a product of them, I wouldn't say tacking on multiplayer, but not realizing what they had at the time with how kind of successful and how much of a kind of a cult hit it kind of would hit or resonate with people. Because, it's not like a Fortnite, an Apex, or even a Call of Duty or anything like that where it's going to be hitting amazing numbers. But I really feel that it's got like a dedicated, thriving niche community that really adore the game and still play it to this day. And I don't think they really expected that, especially when you look at something like the Uncharted Last of Us, Uncharted 4, which is really, I hated the Uncharted 4 last multiplayer and Uncharted 2, and I'm not really in the know with their community, but I doubt it. Their multiplayer would be held up in such high esteem as what The Last of Us is. So
I know there was a core group that enjoyed the Uncharted multiplayer, but they did several games where it was the same thing, between 2 and 3. And they had their kind of core audience for it, but I guess when they were making The Last of Us, they were like, we're just making another Uncharted level multiplayer, so maybe they don't care too much for it, but yeah. All right, well, gameplay. Like, that's there. Straight away, what are the key things apart from the keeping the weapons in the actual game, not having to make you pay for them? What are the key things you'd like to see change gameplay-wise in a multiplayer?
It's so tough because that's really what keeps me coming back outside of all the strategy and the meta games. I think the gameplay is pretty spot on already. I would avoid going, I guess, just speaking about Uncharted 4 multiplayer before, it made me remember that Uncharted 4 multiplayer obviously came after The Last of Us, and I had high expectations for that, and playing that was kind of a real letdown. That felt like really run and gun. The purchasable system in that, I think, was too in-depth, whereas I feel like The Last of Us, it's not super crazy, even though they have a few systems here and there, upgrading your weapons or buying a purchasable weapon. I feel like the options are just enough to not be overwhelming and kind of turn it into this really weird MMO type game or even like your hero shooter like an Apex or an Overwatch where now I've got to know what items do this and that and really get complex. I feel like it shouldn't go overboard. I feel like that what they've got now is quite good. If they can build on that some way, fantastic. But I can't really think of too much without really knowing what The Last of Us single player stuff is, because there's obviously going to be more craftable items, right? So immediately that changes the dynamic. Instead of just your Molotovs, bombs, smoke grenades, or your shivs and weapons and stuff. So be more range there, as long as it doesn't go too overboard and complicate the game. That would be my biggest thing. And outside of that, I think the gunplay is quite good, and all the stealth elements. And I know they've said that there's going to be a lot more verticality within the single player stuff from what we've seen. I hope they don't go too crazy with that in the online stuff, because I'd really love it to be quite grounded still. So it's more so not what I'd like them to do, but what I'd not like them to do when it comes to The Last of Us. But who knows? I could be saying that now, and they could add all these other things, and it could be fantastic. It's really hard to kind of
it's definitely hard to tell without playing the single player, because so much of that is going to carry over into the multiplayer, obviously. And the only thing we really know is you probably are going to be able to jump in general, like a dedicated jump button, I would say. And then not just having to walk up to a car, press X, you'll climb on top of it. I feel like they're going to add, but if you can jump, and you could like jump, roll, or you could even roll a little bit further or something, I would guess that the multiplayer is probably going to be a little bit faster, but they can't speed it up too much because then it'll lose the sort of slow team-based feel. Like, it won't feel the same, but they could speed it up a little bit, especially if the maps are a little bit bigger and like you're able to kind of run and jump and roll over something quickly as you make your way to cover or something, just to add a little bit more action to some of the stuff. Because at the moment it is like run, stop in front of a car, press X very slowly, get on, walk off the other side, press circle to crouch. Like you can't like quickly jump over and get into cover and stuff, and like that could be improved for sure.
I'd be happy for them to increase the speed of that, but I'm really hesitant for a role, especially with how limited resources are and how scarcity plays such an important role in the multiplayer element. I wouldn't want to be trying to fire off rounds at someone who just rolls and then rolls out of the way, and it's kind of turns to this Call of Duty type slide crouch technique that they do.
What if you balance the stamina where you could only do it like every 10 seconds or something?
Yeah, so I would be open to that. I would also be open to making roll a
class thing?
Not a class, but like a perk that you would have to allocate certain loadout points to. So if someone does want to do a roll, that can only be refreshed after every 3 seconds or whatever, and at least that they're going to take points away from having everything else access to them. Longer listening and can't be detected in listen mode and all that kind of stuff. I'd really want it to be like a opportunity cost and of having one kind of perk and foregoing something else. So
yeah, it will be interesting if they keep the perk system the way it's in the current one, because that was kind of a time. I feel like so many multiplayer games on that the PS3 era had similar perk systems, including of course the Uncharted games. And I really cannot think of any multiplayer games now that have that set up, current ones that work like that.
I think you'd have to still have that kind of system, because once again, it kind of plays down to what strategy you're going to do. If either going to go after craftable items and throwables that have 50% more explosive radius, or you don't want to be detected in listen mode and you do want to crouch walk faster and go more stealth element, because I think that just plays into the strategy. And when we run as a four, me and my other three mates, we have a class where we all have extra crafting tools from each box. We all have gifting on. We all have just the enforcer as our weapon, and agility 1, so we can crouch walk faster. And basically the first 2 or 3 rounds, it's just kind of loading up on crafting materials and all our parts, because we get extra parts and doing that kind of stuff. And if we're behind, then we will swap out to our next class, which is enforcer, purchasable shotgun, and then we'll body armor up, and then we'll have like marathon on for running and more damage with throwables and stuff, and we'll all like go into the super run class, and we can basically walk through a team 4-0. So if we haven't done the winning by then through the crafting, we'll all swap out and do our run thing, and we'll all have so many purchasable points because of how we've kind of used our perks and had our loadouts kind of prepped that way. So I do have those 2 set perks there where we if we're going to run that way, we kind of talk about it beforehand and go that route. So I still think that's an important element to have, even though it might seem like dated. But for this game and the strategy, I think it's needed.
It's weird, like whenever you talk about stuff like that, that's like super competitive type stuff with people with teams and stuff. But obviously the game never got a ranked mode or anything to take advantage of people like yourself who wanted to take it competitively, which is disappointing, I guess, in some ways, because I think any game who has a big enough player base that want to play it competitively, not having the option to kind of single out and play against other people who want to play it competitively is a bit annoying, or it's just shit. Like I
running through scrubs.
Yeah, I'm not gonna find. I don't find that fun to play against, and I don't find it fun to do either. So it's just like a bit annoying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think any other final thoughts on The Last of Us multiplayer apart from it being your best thing.
Not really, except for the fact that it's highly rumored that it's going to be factions on its own, separate from the game, whether it'll be DLC or something. So I really have a lot of high expectations of kind of the scope of what it will be.
Yeah, my theory, I'm going to lock it in as of now, is that it's going to be added on 3 to 6 months post-release is currently what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I would go one further to say that we'll get a Last of Us Part 2 PS5 box and disc that may include factions with it, and then that's when The Last of Us for PS4 will also get that downloaded day and date, so that they launch all at the same time.
Would my three? Yeah. Well, it comes out July, August, September. Yeah. So 3 months would be October, late October, early November, at the earliest. And then also, if they do the free release, like it's Warzone or something, then they can still have it. So it's a executable thing from the game.
Imagine a battle royale mode.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Actually, it's so funny that you kind of sparked that up quickly. That is the other one thing I did want in the game, more variation in the modes. So whether you're having a free-for-all or maybe there's like a capture the flag mode or something like that, anything else that kind of give us a bit more variation outside of just your 3 supply raid, survivors, and interrogation. Because I don't really raid interrogation. I'm not sure what the community kind of leans towards from what I've seen. Survivors is where the players that really want to play go, because it's, one and done, and supply raid is more like casual or just jump in for random games.
Yeah, I would say, off my limited experience with it, that they should have just had a dedicated deathmatch mode for people who just want to run around going ham without having to be more methodical with the play, and then the other mode, whatever the variation of the 2 ones where you actually have to do like find supplies and get stuff or whatever. Because I would even make it harder and be like, you spawn in with a pistol and you have to get the parts before you can build your secondary weapon or some shit. Like go even further with making it slow to get your weapons and build up your stuff, and then just stick deathmatch for people who want to spawn in with your flamethrower and run around and do that. Go for it if that's what you want.
The supply raid is kind of deathmatch.
Yeah, in some ways, but it depends how people are playing it, I guess. It's like you can run around and go ham, or you can have more slower sniper v sniper matches. I don't know. It's just got.
And sometimes you don't know what strategy is good until you get into the game and you know what the opposing team like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. We've got scrubs running as individuals around the map. That's cool. Let's pick them off. We can do whatever we want. We can play this how we want. Cool. You got 4 sticking together that are sweeping through one side of the map, and one other person going around trying to flank. Yeah, this is going to be much harder. But before we go as well, I'd kind of, I love and adore the game, the multiplayer. I've played so much of it, and you getting into the back end of the year. What was your take on it? Because you wouldn't have played it if I kind of hadn't prodded you so much.
Yeah, so I do enjoy it when I was enjoying it, and then I really didn't like it when I was really not enjoying it. It had it had its high highs and its low lows is how I'd rate it. And I guess I was somewhat easier on some of the weird stuff it was doing because it was a PS3 multiplayer stuff. So there's lots of little nitpicky things I could point out. As I said, the perk system I felt just weirdly outdated and these sorts of things. But yeah, I feel like I enjoy the setup of the mode, but as I'm saying, I would actually just prefer them to go further into making it a more stealthy, team-based, tactical mode, and less just this weird in-between a deathmatch and a more tactical thing. I'm like, either commit or kind of just split them off into their own separate modes, and that's when I would enjoy it so much more, because the matches I was enjoying the most were the more tactical ones, not the ones where we was owning people and running around and I was just getting heaps of easy kills. I'm like, I don't really feel like I'm doing anything. I'm just walking around the map shooting people. Like, this isn't fun.
Just walk around watching Buddy get like 12 kills.
I'm like, yeah, I'm glad you're having fun, but this thing, because I enjoy tactical multiplayer stuff more. That's why, not to go off the deep end into Dylan's history multiplayer stuff, but like that's why I enjoy Apex so much at the moment, because I consider that like quite tactical. I've always enjoyed the Battlefield games over Call of Duty because they were always more tactical, and I never really enjoyed Call of Duty games. I'm not a big fan of team deathmatch type stuff because I just find running around, shooting, eventually dying, respawning, running around, shooting, I just find that boring. So the more tactical, I'll enjoy it, and that's why I see these the more tactical elements of this where I'm like, yeah, I could get into this. And also, I do enjoy class-based stuff, or like the stuff of Apex where you can pick a character and learn their abilities and learn how to use them appropriately with different characters and like how to well use those abilities in team fight and stuff. And you could kind of add something like that to Last of Us if it wouldn't be impossible for them to be like, this is a certain class or whatever, and they have these abilities or whatever. Like you could separate perks into different characters and give them different sorts of things. So then when we're heading into a match, it's like, well, what are you playing? Oh, I'm playing the support. I've got this. I've got that. All right, well, if you're playing that, I'm going to make sure I play this other dude with like the ammo refill boxes, whatever. Because that's a part I always enjoyed about Battlefield as well. It's like, what's my team got? What don't they have? I will fill the role here, all my time playing League of Legends. What does my team have? What do they not have? I will fill the role here. I want to fill boxes.
As long as that's an optional mode and not like the full thing and complicate it and kind of go against its fan base.
So it's like split the modes.
Might work.
Make a more.
Yeah, yes. As long as they split the modes and it's not now just this.
Yeah, make one that's more like what we got now, where you can just run around team deathmatchy type stuff, and then have a more kind of hardcore-y tactical one. That's how you would hook me into Last of Us 2 multiplayer a lot more. Easy.
You'll be hooked in it no matter what.
I'm going to play it no matter what.
Apex will be dead by then. We'll just be playing Last of Us.
We'll see.
Factions 2. It's happening. Lock it in. Kieran, get playing now.
All right. With
Ash, you too.
With that, we'll end it. So this is the end of the Last of Us replay segment. I hope you've all enjoyed listening to it over the last 8 weeks on Platinum Explosion, or cut out separately as it's been posted on YouTube, of course. Thank you, Buddy, for coming on and doing the last segment. If you want to find Buddy on Twitter and tell him how much you loved Last of Us multiplayer as well, you can find him on Twitter at BuddyWatson12, of course. And no more leaks. The game's out soon. It's out 3 weeks as this goes up, so get excited.
My DMs are always open for people who are wanting to praise The Last of Us online. I was
about to say, I said leaks, and then shortly after you said something about DMs being open. I'm like, no.
My DMs are now closed.
Yeah, they're now closed.
I'm gonna find, and I'm gonna kill every last one of them.
That'll do it for this week's episode of Platinum Explosion. Don't forget, follow us on Twitter by heading to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter. You can, once again, thank you very much to Buddy Watson for joining me for the finale of The Last of Us replay. Had a great time talking about the multiplayer stuff. You can follow him on Twitter at BuddyWatson12 and go check out his Twitter and find out about his new project coming up soon called Radio Watson. I don't think that's how the theme song sounds. I'm just making up as I go because there's no episode out yet, but it's coming soon. So check that out. You can suggest topics and send in questions for the show by emailing mail@explosionoc.com with the subject line Platinum Explosion. And until next week, remember, every trophy counts. Hey, don't forget you can subscribe to the show wherever you're currently listening, and you can drop a review if you can. Find more great shows like this and more content over at explosionnetwork.com. And please consider supporting us for as little as $1 over on our Ko-fi page by heading to explosionnetwork.com/support. Thanks for listening.